story that developed over the weekend. South Korea says it's working to bring home hundreds of its citizens who were detained in an ICE raid on a Georgia auto plant last week. Madison Scarpino is in Elabelle, Georgia. She's got more. Hi, Madison.
Hi, Dana. South Korea has not been happy about this historic raid. So now it's acting quick to get more than 300 of its citizens out of an ICE detention center. The South Korean government says it made a deal with the U.S., and after finalizing some details, it plans to send a chartered plane here. And those hundreds of detainees, many who were searched and shackled, will fly back home to South Korea. President Trump is calling this a very interesting situation. He backs ICE, but says we should look into letting foreign workers stay here to train American workers.
If you don't have people in this country right now that know about batteries, maybe we should help them along and let some people come in and train our people to do, complex things. So we're going to look at that whole situation.
South Korea's foreign minister is reportedly planning to travel to Washington today about all this. But President Trump says this hasn't impacted our relationship with the key ally.
We have a great relationship with South Korea. Really good relationship. We just made a trade deal.
This Hyundai mega plant has been touted as one of Georgia's largest economic development project, and that it's meant to train thousands of Georgians. Thursday's raid happening while workers were building an EV battery factory, and just that factory itself is an over $4 billion investment. So Homeland Security says everyone arrested at the raid either had crossed the border illegally, had expired worker visas, or was not supposed to be working on a visa waiver program. But we spoke to an attorney representing two of the people detained who tells us his clients were working here legally. Dana.
All right, Madison, thank you.
So former ICE Director Jonathan Fahey, he's here to explain all this. Jonathan, good morning to you. How does a company like this get away with it or find themselves in this circumstance?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. You wouldn't think a large company like this with so much to risk would risk using illegal workers. And I think what's really interesting and important about this, you hear sort of the complaints of, that attorneys saying that people were here legally, but there was a federal judge that issued a search warrant for this. So that judge found that there was probable cause for criminal law violations going on there, mainly with the employers. And I think President Trump's response is quite interesting and important in that, we need to make sure people are here legally, and if we need American workers trained, we should do that too. It's a total common sense approach, but it's always an American worker first approach as well as American business approach. But this whole thing is very good as far as deterrence, because companies that are hiring illegal people are, one, putting American workers at a disadvantage. Also, they're putting American businesses that play by the rules at a disadvantage. So this raid was a great deterrent to ensure that people here are working legally. Illegal people aren't allowed to work, and businesses aren't allowed to profit from using illegal workers.
Well, I find it all intriguing. Dana and I were talking about this last week. Doesn't E-Verify supposed to make sure this doesn't happen? Or do you have a lot of people being paid under the table?
Yeah, I think that's probably what they're looking into. Like, how do these people get in here and get through the system? Are they paid under the table? Are there fraudulent documents being used? I think that's probably one of the things they're looking at, fraudulent employment documents, I-9s and things like that. So I think that's part of the investigation. And clearly they had a lot of information before going in, because you wouldn't go into an operation this extensive. They arrested, 475 people. So this was a massive operation, massive planning into this. So they probably had information that there were lots of violations, or potentially lots of criminal law violations going on there.
Jonathan, one more story I'm going to hit you with. Put the headline up from FoxNews.com. Here it is now. Cartel connection. Hezbollah and Iran exploit Maduro's Venezuela for cocaine cash. Now we're being told that the Venezuelan government will tackle the cartels off its own coast. What do you make of that, given the raid that we saw on a boat at sea a week and a half ago?
It just shows how effective that boat raid was on deterrence, because they weren't talking about this a week ago. And I think they know that President Trump is strong on this issue, strong on the cartels, and also strong on any nation that's supporting them. So this was really effective, and it's going to really embolden a lot of these other nations to stand up to the cartels also, because remember, under the Biden administration, we basically, in effect, turned over our southern border to the cartels. They had more power than a lot of these nations. So the tide has turned, but I think it's President Trump's not only strong action, but just a difference from the weakness and ineptitude of the Biden administration.
Okay, watching both those stories, find them very intriguing. Jonathan, thanks for coming back today. Nice to see you on a Monday. Thank you. Dana.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.